Today we're going to go over a little bit about my journey towards getting my front split, the different things that I'm doing. I do this workout about twice a week after training legs, so usually once after my main squat day and once after my main hinge day. But basically the goal here is to create, is to build strength throughout a range of motion. And I usually start off with these long lunge isometric holds. I'm trying to make sure that my heel stays well in front of my knee and sinking directly down. Over the minute that I spend in here, I will usually try to sink a little bit further back, and I'm trying to ensure that my back heel remains turned out. I don't want it to start to turn in, then it's not quite getting what I want it to get. Got about 5 seconds left. First side. I'll switch. Sometimes I will hold this for 1.5 to 2 minutes, but kind of the baseline is a minute. And essentially what I'm looking to do here is just to get myself a little bit primed, kind of get ready, get my nervous system ready to understand it's going to be at this length. Most of the time, I'm not really super concerned about a huge stretch warm-up, just because my workout will do it for me. But I am playing with some pretty challenging end range of motion for me. And front split has been a very elusive goal that I've tried to get several times, but I've never really achieved. Kind of lost track of my own time here. I think that I've got 10 seconds left, but I'm not sure. That is pretty spicy, the longer you hold it. From that initial, I will usually move on to some form of reverse Nordic and onto some form of forward bending that's weighted. So for the reverse Nordics, if you elevate the surface that you're going to put your feet on, it will make it easier. I can do reverse Nordics flat, but right now I'm working a little bit on one leg, and this allows me to get the amount of repetitions that I want a little bit easier. I probably won't be able to do this for all my sets, but the goal here is not to pull myself up with my hands on the boxes, but to keep my hip forward and extend through my leg. So trying to keep my butt pushed forward, extending from the knee. It'd be pretty sick to be able to get this on one box and do it well. With the talking, I'm kind of losing track of reps again, but try to get about 20 in. I think about halfway there. I'm gonna count that as 10. Now this strength training through the longer range of motion does tend to make range a lot easier to access while cold, which is a serious benefit, I think, to most people, especially if you're doing a sport like I do. I do jiu-jitsu, and sometimes I'm going to be put in very awkward positions, and the more range I have while cold, the easier it's going to be for my body to handle those kind of extreme positions. You can kind of see this one leg, if you're familiar with the couch stretch. It's kind of a mix between the reverse Nordic and the couch stretch. But I can't stay in couch stretches, so I mostly do reverse Nordics. I will likely just use both legs on the next one and go down in the elevation. I'm trying not to pull too much from the front of my leg either, remembering it's coming from that back leg that you're loading up. think that's probably about 20. Now from here, moving on to forward bends, I find that single leg Jefferson curl with a little bit of internal rotation of that front hip, keeping this leg straight and pulsing at the bottom. Really opens up that hamstring. Now, those pulses at the bottom count a little bit as speed work. And the conclusion of this is it's better tissue capacity if you can also handle some speed at the length. I always say, easiest way to tear a muscle would be to lengthen it and put a lot of force through it quickly. So this is just a scale of that idea, is putting force through it kind of quickly at length to ensure that it doesn't get injured so easily when it is put there forcibly, either in sport, in sprinting, in life. Yeah, we will just stick to the regular reverse Nordics. Give you a little bit better of an angle this. Now, I could try doing these flat, but just doesn't quite get the amount of work that I like to get done in these sessions. If I could do them for 20 or 30 reps flat, I'd be super excited. I'm not quite there. If you can see that elevation of the feet is making it a lot easier. I can focus more on extending through the whole spine, get that whole front of the chain better. And then back to these forward folds. So you can see we're developing both sides, which even if you weren't aiming for front split, would be a pretty smart idea. So we'll do those. So we start with the static holds, then we really move through a lot of that range of motion, put some bounce into the tissues. Then we get a little bit more specific again to the front split, and these are gliders. So you will have furniture slider, and you'll put your back foot on it. We're trying to keep that heel turned out still. From here, kind of how good I feel on the day will change how many reps I'm gonna do. But I'm extending that front leg and then pulling it in. So it's a really stretched out hamstring curl. Lately, I've been able to get my leg completely straight in the front. Definitely makes it harder, so I'm choosing to get that all the way straight instead of the extra reps. It does feel a little bit better than trying to go with the flat reverse Nordics with the same idea, or those I prefer the higher reps. These I rather have the greater strength stimulus. Neither one's wrong. Or maybe one is. I don't have the front splits yet. But just like those other two, I'll do this for 2 sets, switching sides. And so we don't quite have that front split yet, but I'm not super far off. Maybe I am. You're an aficionado. You can't quite see. Ooh. But so we're pretty far down, keeping that heel turned out in the back. If I turn it in, then we almost have that, I think they call it an American split in some circles, but I think it's just to insult Americans, which I don't like. But I call it the martial arts split. It was the first split training I ever did when I was doing traditional martial arts. But yeah, if you are strengthening through the hamstring and particularly getting some of that rotation and also going through the hip flexor and the quad, I think it's a matter of time. Even if you aren't training specifically for the front split, you will develop a foundation that allows you to train it as you go on. And like I said, even if the front split's not your goal, getting strong through those further ranges of motion, being able to put speed through the tissue at length is going to create healthier tissue, going to create more capacity. The key is to not try to rush your way through the process. This does take time. If you put that speed through there too quickly with weight, yes, you will probably end up getting hurt. If you take it slow and you build it up over time, it'll scale and you'll have much more resilient tissue. Anyway, this is just what I'm doing for front splits right now. And if you're still here, thanks for watching.